Some players are born to be legends, names like Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron. But what about those who had the same greatness inside them, yet never got the full chance to show it? What happens when talent meets bad timing, injuries, and fate that just won't cooperate? Tracy McGrady was that story. For a moment, he looked unstoppable, smooth, effortless, and feared by every defender. But his career soon became one of basketball's biggest what-ifs. What if he had stayed healthy? What if he had the right team? What if fate had been kinder? Today we're diving into the rise and fall of one of the most naturally gifted players to ever touch a basketball. This is Nylon, and if you love stories that explore greatness, pain, and everything in between, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep basketball stories. The rise of a young star, Tracy McGrady, came into the NBA straight out of high school in 1997. Young, confident, and full of raw talent. The Toronto Raptors took a chance on him and paired him with his cousin, Vince Carter, who was quickly becoming a superstar. The two were supposed to lead the Raptors into a bright new era. But playing beside Vince wasn't easy. McGrady wanted his own spotlight, to lead, to be the guy. After Toronto got swept in the 2000 playoffs, he made a big decision. He left to chase his own dream. Joining the Orlando Magic, McGrady's career took off fast. He became one of the best scorers in the league, dropping buckets with ease and confidence. But that move also began a series of tough breaks, injuries, bad luck, and missed chances. What looked like the start of a perfect story slowly turned into one of basketball's biggest what-ifs. Leaving Toronto, a decision he regretted. When Tracy McGrady left Toronto, he was only 21, still young and learning. The Raptors were just starting to build something special around Vince Carter, his cousin and teammate. The next season, Toronto made it to the second round of the playoffs and came within one shot of reaching the Eastern Conference Finals. Things were looking up for them. Meanwhile, McGrady was in Orlando, trying to carry the entire Magic team on his back. He played amazingly, averaging 27 points, 7 rebounds, and almost 5 assists. But basketball isn't something one person can win alone. The Magic didn't have the same balance or chemistry that the Raptors had found. Years later, McGrady admitted he regretted leaving Toronto. He said, "Looking back, I wish I'd stayed." He believed he and Vince could have been one of the greatest duos ever, but that dream ended before it truly began. The Orlando Dream and the Grant Hill disaster. When Tracy McGrady joined the Orlando Magic, he believed he was teaming up with another star, Grant Hill. At that time, Hill was one of the best players in the league, known for his leadership, skill, and versatility. The plan was for the two of them to take Orlando to the top, but fate stepped in. Before joining the Magic, Hill hurt his ankle while playing for Detroit. It seemed like a small injury, but it turned out to be serious. After signing with Orlando, Hill played only 4 games in his first season. Over the next 4 years, he barely played at all. Multiple surgeries nearly ended his career. That left McGrady alone. He gave everything, winning 2 scoring titles and making impossible shots look easy. But no matter how great he was, one man couldn't win it all. Without Hill, Orlando's dream team never became a reality. What could have been the first great what if? If Grant Hill had stayed healthy, the Orlando Magic could have been one of the strongest teams of the early 2000s. Hill was a top player in his prime, and his presence would have made things easier for McGrady. Together, they could have stood toe-to-toe with duos like Kobe and Shaq or Duncan and Parker. But instead, McGrady was left to carry the load alone. The pressure and loneliness started to wear him down. By 2004, frustration grew as the Magic kept losing. After 4 brilliant but empty seasons, McGrady knew he needed a change, and he found it with the Houston Rockets. A new beginning in Houston. When McGrady joined the Houston Rockets, hope was in the air again. This time, he had a true partner, Yao Ming, a dominant center with incredible skill and presence. Together, they looked like the perfect duo, a mix of power and finesse that could take Houston far. At first, things went well. The Rockets played strong, and both stars shined. But once again, injuries changed everything. Yao began to struggle with health issues, missing big parts of the season. In 2007, he played only 48 games, and McGrady was left to carry the team alone in the playoffs, again. The playoff curse begins. Tracy McGrady's biggest frustration wasn't his talent. It was his playoff record. No matter how great he played, he could never get past the first round as the main star of his team. In 2002, his Orlando Magic faced the Charlotte Hornets in the first round. They had a solid lead late in Game 1, but things fell apart. McGrady missed his last few shots, turned the ball over twice, and missed 2 key free throws. The Magic lost by 1 point, and that loss broke their rhythm. The Hornets won the series 3-1. Then in 2003, the Magic were heavy underdogs against the top-seeded Detroit Pistons. Still, McGrady was amazing, leading Orlando to a 3-1 series lead while averaging over 36 points. But the Pistons adjusted and came back strong. Detroit won 3 straight games, ending Orlando's dream run. Once again, McGrady's brilliance wasn't enough to save his team. Houston heartbreaks. History repeats. When McGrady arrived in Houston, it finally felt like his luck was about to change. In 2005, the Rockets started the playoffs strong, taking a 2-0 lead over the Dallas Mavericks. McGrady even hit a game winner in Game 2, and fans believed this was his time to break the curse. But things fell apart again. His shots stopped falling, the team lost momentum, and Dallas came back to win 4 of the next 5 games. In Game 7, Houston got blown out by 40 points. A painful ending. 2 years later, it was the same story. In 2007, the Rockets led 2-0 against the Utah Jazz, but McGrady missed key shots late, and Utah took the series in 7. Then in 2008, with Yao Ming injured again, McGrady tried to carry the team alone. He gave everything he had, but still couldn't escape the first round. The label stuck. He can't win in the playoffs. The body starts to break. By 2008, Tracy McGrady was only 28, the age when most players hit their prime, but his body had already started to break down. Years of carrying teams and fighting through pain finally caught up with him. Back injuries became his biggest enemy. In 2009, his numbers dropped fast. Just 15 points a game, only 35 games played. His smooth jumper lost its lift, and his drives no longer had that burst of speed. The player who once made everything look easy now struggled just to stay on the court. By 33, McGrady was done, a legend cut short. The Spurs ring that doesn't count. In 2013, Tracy McGrady made a short return to the NBA, joining the San Antonio Spurs during their playoff run. On paper, it looked like the moment he had waited for. The Spurs reached the NBA Finals, finally giving him that long-missing playoff success. But in reality, it wasn't the same. McGrady barely played. He sat on the bench, more of a mentor than a player. The victories didn't feel like his own. You could see it in his eyes, pride mixed with sadness. He knew he once had the talent to be one of the greatest, but his time had already passed. The legacy of Tracy McGrady. When people talk about Tracy McGrady today, one phrase always comes up. What if? What if he had stayed in Toronto? What if Grant Hill never got hurt? What if Yao Ming's body had stayed strong? What if his back hadn't failed him? Each what if makes his story feel even sadder. But even without a ring, McGrady's greatness can't be questioned. At his best, he was unstoppable. Smooth, smart, and deadly. He could score, pass, and create like few others ever could. Even Kobe Bryant once said McGrady was the hardest player he ever had to guard. That says it all. Respect from his peers. Even though the media often blamed McGrady for not winning in the playoffs, players knew the real story. They knew how gifted he was. He had Kevin Durant's size, Paul George's smoothness, and the creativity of a point guard. His jumper over defenders looked effortless, and during the early 2000s, fans often argued if he was even better than Kobe, and for a time, he really was. McGrady wasn't just great, he was ahead of his time. He proved that a tall forward could handle, pass, and score from anywhere. In many ways, he inspired the modern players we see today. Finding peace after basketball. After retiring, McGrady found peace in a new way. He became an NBA analyst and often talks honestly about his journey, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. He's open about his regrets, especially leaving Toronto and the injuries that changed his path. But he also speaks with gratitude, knowing his story still inspired many fans and young players. In 2017, McGrady was finally honored with a place in the Basketball Hall of Fame, a moment that felt like closure. It was a reminder that even without a ring, his talent, heart, and impact would never be forgotten. Outro Tracy McGrady's story reminds us that life doesn't always go as planned. Sometimes, even the most talented people face walls they can't climb. Injuries, bad luck, wrong timing, they all play a part. But what if greatness isn't only about trophies and rings? What if it's about how deeply someone touched the game and the people who watched them? T-Mac showed us that beauty can exist even in unfinished stories. He may not have won it all, but he made us believe in magic every time he stepped on the court. Do you think talent alone is enough to reach greatness? Or does life always have the final say? This is Nylon, where we tell the stories that live between success and heartbreak. If you felt something watching this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that remind you why we love the game.